Here with us again for this week's Almond Matters segment, we've got Field Market Development Specialist with Valent USA, Todd Berkdahl. And we're talking about keeping orchards safe from ant damage. And so we are just about to turn the corner, heading into May here, and temperatures are on the rise. So, Todd, that means more ant activity. And so what will growers want to think about in terms of keeping their orchards clean?
Well, Brian, I tell you, as the temperatures warm up, the ants and along with other arthropod insects become active. And so they're out there looking, foraging for food. And if they find food, that means that they're going to duplicate. Their colony is going to get bigger and stronger, and they're going to, proliferate the species. So it's a good time to start thinking about controlling those ants, because if you wait till you get to harvest with almonds and there's ants out there, they can really be a problem. They get inside and they're going after the nut, the kernel, and it's a mess. And so you want to get them early. You don't want to get up to harvest and say, oh, I forgot, we got to put out something to kill the ants, and then you're doing catch up and you're way behind the eight ball. So getting on them early, I like to say around mid-May, is start putting out a steam ant bait. It's a good time. The temperatures are already warm. The ants are actively foraging. They pick up the bait. And the way the steam works is it basically acts as an insect growth regulator. It stops the going from one stage of the nymphs to the next. So basically, it'll nuke the entire colony. I like to call it genocide among the ants. It's kind of a harsh term, but it's in reality, that's what you're doing. Because once the workers take those granules of treated bait back to the colony, and they feed on it, and they feed the nymphs or the larvae in the colony, and then they all die, including the queen and the workers, and it's basically genocide, which is good, because if you knock out the entire population, it takes them a long time to rebound from moving in from adjacent areas or whatnot. And so consequently, you go into harvest clean, and you don't have to worry about ant infestation in your nuts as they're laying on the ground waiting for them to dry out before you pick them up. So that's it in a nutshell, sort of, no pun intended. But that's way. Start clean, stay clean, start early with your Esteem. There's other products out there. Esteem, I like it because it's very thorough. It takes out the entire population.
And just to further illustrate that point a bit, it is thorough. It does an excellent job, but you do need to make sure that you get active with it and get out there early. Otherwise, you're not going to be quite as effective with it as you'd like to be.
That's true. And on the application, there's a couple of different philosophies there, or methodologies to consider. We have spreaders available, and you can put the steam ant bait in the spreader and drive through with a four-wheeler ATV and spread it. That works. Some guys use mounding, where they just take a spoonful and they put it along the tree row, and away from the emitters, so it doesn't get washed away on your sprinkler system. But that works as well. Probably the fastest, most effective way is just to go through with the spreaders, and do a broadcast application. They're out there foraging on the orchard floor. They'll find it, and like I said, once they take it doesn't take much. The steam is used at very low rates. It's 0.04 pounds AI per acre, I think, is the rate. It's very, very small. So it doesn't take much for the activity to kick in.
Well, very good. And just lastly here, to emphasize the importance of a good mitigation program for ants, what kind of issues can growers be looking at later in the season if they don't get ahead of any ant populations?
Well, they're looking for food. The ants are looking for food when they're foraging, so they will be attracted to. It's when the nuts are on the ground. Once you shake them and they're on the ground, and they're sitting there waiting to dry out. Even before their windrow, you get ants in that, and then even when you go through with a pickup machine, you can actually pick them up as well. And so they can stay there, and they're feeding. They can damage nuts, and you don't want damage. It's like having any kind of damage, navel orange worm or ant damage. They're feeding on that nut kernel, so it's going to be dockage at the processor if there's damage on the nuts. So you want to keep them out of your nuts.
Well, very good. Todd Bergdahl with Valent USA here with us again with some recommendations for getting out in front of ant problems. Todd, thanks again for joining us today.
No problem, Brian. Always a pleasure. Take care.